You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, that's a nice bounce back win for the Detroit Pistons. How about that? Welcome into a Locked On Pistons Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And Cade Cunningham, just a day after being named an All-Star, drops 40 points. Jalen Duren played really well as well. The whole team did. Clean game, limited the turnovers, and cruised past the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about it, and we'll talk our studs and duds at the end portion of this program. That's all coming up next on a live Locked On Pistons Postcast. Thanks so much, as always, for making the Locked On Pistons Postcast your post-game destination, free and available wherever you get your broadcasts and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts as well. And it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Now, don't forget, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. That's right. It's the Locked On Pistons Postcast newsletter, and it's delivered right to your inbox. And you can sign up for free at LockedOnPistons.com, or I'm sorry, at LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up for the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. And that's the best information and the best coverage delivered right to your inbox. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. It's always a pleasure to be on the air, and it's always a pleasure to be on the air after a Pistons victory at a time they so desperately needed a victory. After a 3-game losing streak, a long, lengthy road trip that felt even longer after the way it ended, to come back tonight, Little Caesars Arena, against a good Mavericks team, albeit a Mavericks team that's been decimated with injuries. Obviously, no Luka. Of course, that's a big part of it as well, but no Lively as well. No Derek Lively. So that being said, you saw the kind of impact that Daniel Gafford can have on a game, a number of blocks, but it didn't matter because Cade Cunningham was on one tonight. He was on a heater, and rightfully so, because my goodness, he's named the first All-Star for the Pistons since 2019. And that first performance after being named an All-Star, you want to go out there and you want to show out. And that's exactly what Cade Cunningham did tonight. And now listen, this was the type of game Pistons got off to a little bit of a slow start. And that being said, you think, okay, perhaps it's your first game back at home after a lengthy road trip. But the way they turned it up in that second quarter, started to make a statement, had a 9-0 run in that second quarter. And the way they took care of the basketball, just 6 turnovers the entire evening for the Pistons. Compare that on the other side to the Dallas Mavericks, who had 16 turnovers, and you're going to see an advantage there for the Detroit Pistons, a big reason why they won this game. There is no doubt about that. Now, the Mavs, you knew they were going to fight back in the third quarter, and they had a couple of runs in that third quarter. Detroit still outscored the Mavs 31-27 in the third frame, and then took it home. I love the way they closed out this game, left no doubt, 24-17 in the fourth quarter. It sounds like a football score. That being said, they cruised to the 15-point victory because Pistons had 2 different 15-point leads in this one. The Mavs got it as close as 2 in the third quarter there after the Pistons. Or it might have been, that was early in the fourth quarter where they got it down to 2. But, man, you can't say enough about the concerted effort from this Detroit Pistons team to bounce back in a big way and earn the win. Now, I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't mention it was Isaiah Stewart bobblehead night, but no, he wasn't on the court because he was serving a 1-game suspension, and that's about as Isaiah Stewart as it gets. It's your bobblehead night, but you can't play because you're suspended. That, in a nutshell, if someone said, tell me about Isaiah Stewart, that's what I would tell them. But in all seriousness, huge win for the Detroit Pistons tonight. You absolutely love to see Detroit get back to the 500 mark, 24-24, and 500 at home as well, 11-11. And again, this was one you had to have given the 3-game losing streak and the conclusion of that lengthy road trip. Now, I'll also add, nice to see Commissioner Adam Silver at Little Caesars Arena tonight. Shout out to good friend Natalie Kerwin, who was interviewing him at one portion of the broadcast tonight. You love to see that. And of course, that centered around the news that came out today that the number of investors actively seeking to get a WNBA team back to Detroit. And of course, not replace, but the Detroit Shock were a pivotal part of basketball in the Motor City for so long. But after they left, there's been that WNBA void. So if the Pistons can fill that, or if the team of investors that includes, I got to double check the article, but I know Jared Goff is on there. Tom Gores, I believe the Ford family, a lot of powerful investors backing this one. And I'm sure I'm missing. Grant Hill, I believe his family is involved with it, as far as some heavy hitters trying to bring the WNBA back to Detroit. So that explains why Adam Silver was in attendance tonight. And he picked a good one to see, because the Pistons ball out with the 15-point win over the Dallas Mavericks. So come along. It's a live Locked On Pistons postcast. We're taking your comments. I see the inbox starting to fill up. Always love getting into the comments and hearing what the pulse of the Locked On Pistons postcast, you, the fans, have to say. Because again, tonight it was all about Cade, and it was all about the way the Pistons took care of the basketball. And we're going to talk more and more Cade Cunningham as the program goes along. But 17 of 30, 3 of 8 from the long line, 40 points. He was plus 11. Go ahead and give him 4 assists and 6 boards as well. Got to talk about Jalen Duren and the contributions he made. 6 of 8 from the floor. A couple of nice lob dunks there. And oh, by the way, I will add, you got to give Gafford a lot of credit for how well he played for the Mavs. So I'm not taking anything away from him, but Cade did get him on that one off the dribble, and he should. I mean, it's a big guy trying to guard Cade Cunningham. He's going to make him look silly off the dribble. But Gafford finished with 16 points to go along with 10 rebounds, and I mentioned the blocks. He had 5 of them. Also, okay, we'll get to this in the duds portion, but the Ron Holland thing, missing a reverse dunk when you're wide open, completely going into the rim all alone and missing a dunk like that, you just can't have that. And I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but that was one of the bad things that we saw tonight. And of course, I was very, very reactionary with that, saying bench him for the rest of the game. But Ron Holland still contributed. But you just, as an NBA player, you can't get caught trying to show off with a reverse dunk when you're in all alone and miss the dunk there. So that being said, I thought Tobias Harris was solid tonight, 17 points for him, 7 of 12 from the floor. He had that baseline jumper going, which you love to see. And off the bench, 10 points for Sasser. Beasley was a little bit quieter tonight, but he did have three made three-pointers, or 3 made three-pointers, probably a better way to say it. Sasser struggled from beyond the arc, 0 for 5, but he was a plus 11 for the evening. So happy to see the Pistons back in the win column. Obviously, 117-102, the final in this one. We're going to get to your comments. That comes up next. Don't go anywhere. We're also going to talk about the way the Pistons were able to utilize that clean approach in the second half en route to the victory. That's all coming up next on Live Locked On Pistons Postcast. Your comments are next on Locked On Pistons Postcast. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is brought to you by TurboTax. That's right. This is a message from Intuit TurboTax. Taxes, well, it used to be waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting some more and wondering and worrying and wondering some more. Now, taxes is all about matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. How about that? Today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get a real-time update and updates in real time throughout the process. And their progress is known to you, so you can focus on your day. You don't have to worry about it. An expert who will find you every deduction possible. Let me say that again, every deduction possible, and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worrying. It's all about the current state of taxes. This is taxes. Get an expert now at turbotax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantee. What a win for the Detroit Pistons. Happy to have you along on a live Locked On Pistons postcast, recapping a 117-102 victory over the Dallas Mavericks. Pistons back to 500 at 24-24. The Mavs fall to 26-23 in this one. That being said, how about the performance for Cade Cunningham? 40 points. You love to see it. That's our all-star, and that is what brings us great joy here on the live Locked On Pistons postcast. Let's get to those comments. Mark is up first. We need those efforts nicely from Sasser and Tobias. I agree, because Marcus Sasser, albeit struggling shooting from the long line, impacted the game in a number of different ways, played well defensively, and Tobias was that complementary piece that you want to see, that you expect to see, that he's proven he can be. And you're not asking Tobias Harris to be a guy that takes 20 shots a game. You're just asking him to be complimentary, and that is what he was tonight. You gotta love it. Here's Johnny says, sweet. Demetrius McNeil next up, 40 for Cade Cunningham, and the Pistons start the homestand with a win over the Mavericks. Bring on the Bulls. That's right. The Pistons will be at home for, I believe, and you guys know math is never my strength, but I want to say the next 5 games, so a 6-game homestand. Let's see. So they've got the Bulls will be next. That's Sunday. Then the Hawks also at home. That's Monday. So back-to-back action there. Cavs are at home Wednesday, and 76ers also at home, and then the Hornets. So yeah, that's 5 more home games for the Pistons to enjoy some home cooking at LCA. 3, Mr. Wright says Jared Goff chance turned to MVP chance. You love to see it. I know everybody wanted to talk about that. My goodness, if there was one topic that I could always count on being brought up on, whether it's Pistons Twitter, Red Wings Twitter, whatever it was, is the Jared Goff chance breaking out at various arenas. I know it had its time, and now we don't need to get into it, because I, for one, am Jared Goff's biggest fan, and he resurrected the Detroit Lions, and obviously had some help and everything, but I never had a problem with chanting Jared Goff, because he's the face of the franchise, still is the face of the franchise. But that being said, I understand people with the notion that, hey, it's a different sport. It's ran its course. Let's change some chants. And if the MVP chants were breaking out, yeah, who was at LCA tonight? Let me know. MVP chants breaking out for Cade Cunningham. You absolutely love it. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights checking in with the Mr. My City saying MVP. Of course, he's referring to Cade Cunningham. You got to love that. Who else we've got in the comments tonight on the live Locked On Pistons postcast? Right. I thought it was Paul Reed night. No, it was Isaiah Stewart night. Cade looked like an all-star tonight. That was from Jay. Wow, indeed he did. My goodness. Maybe even looked like a starter in the all-star game. And yes, that's going to be first of many all-star appearances for Cade Cunningham. There is no doubt about it. DP says, shout out Sasser. He played his tail off all night. Indeed. And I've really loved to see the growth and development of Marcus Sasser. And given what his role is and what he's being asked to do, I think he's really starting to organically progress into that role. And I think that's a sign of growth and maturity for Sasser. And you hope to continue to see those types of performances tonight. Cade got mauled tonight. And of course, the refs swallowed the whistle. He did. What was that? The end of the second or third quarter? I think it was the end of the half, whatever it was. I mean, he just got absolutely hacked at the rim. No call there. There was some shaky officiating all the way around on both sides as well. Watch some of the Mavs telecasts tonight. Mark Followell does such a tremendous job for the Dallas Mavericks. So always enjoy tuning into his broadcast as well. And they absolutely missed some calls on both sides of the aisle tonight. Mr. My City is up next. I hope they can keep the switch on finally instead of turning it on and off. That's right. I agree with Mr. My City here. It's going to be interesting and a really great opportunity for the Pistons to take that next step, to no longer just be a team that we feel good talking about off and on, but to really sustain that consistent level of play. And the part about it that is encouraging or frustrating, however you want to look at it, either way, is that it's there. It's so present, and it's a matter, I think Mr. My City put it right here with turning on, turning off, and you just want to see it sustained and be consistent. And so it will be interesting to see if they can sustain a consistent level of play and compile some victories here and stack them while at home. That's a really good point, and I completely agree. Listeners, you guys are the best. Tuning in and chiming in. That's what makes the live Locked On Pistons postcast so fun. So appreciate you for that. It's been a heck of a time having the live Locked On Pistons postcast. We hope to continue it here. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. You can see Jake Riepma, Locked On Detroit, if you're watching on YouTube there. Forgot to switch the old name tag. Full transparency, was on a CHGO Bears podcast today representing Locked On Detroit. So I had to have my name tag, Jake Riepma, Locked On Detroit. So if you're wondering why, do not adjust your monitors. That's how it goes. But always repping Locked On Detroit, and we appreciate the loyal listeners that we've built up here on the Locked On Sports Detroit YouTube page, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. We're going to take one more time out. When we come back, we'll have our studs and duds. So during the commercial break, make sure you're thinking of the studs and duds you want to contribute to the program. I think we all know who my stud's going to be. That's coming up next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, could you imagine? FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. How about that, sports fans? The live betting features lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. One of my all-time favorite bets was a doink of a field goal off the uprights. Could it happen? Well, you can bet on it. That's a lot of fun. I will tell you, there's nothing more electric than when a live bet and a live prop bet like that hits. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win a $200 bet in bonus bets, $200 in bonus bets, that's what it's all about for the Super Bowl. That's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, final segment of the program, and it's time for the studs and duds. Let me know who you thought was a stud out there tonight and who you thought might have been a dud. I'll start with the stud. It's the obvious one, Cade Cunningham. 40 points, a 40 burger for the Pistons All-Star, showing that he is among the elite and taking that next step in his career and becoming that premier guard, the MVP chance from LCA. You absolutely love to see it. In 36 minutes, 17 of 30 from the floor, 40 points. Go ahead and give him 4 assists and 6 rebounds as well. Just the 3 turnovers plus 11. And I think the way the Pistons go often is dictated by Cade. And he took care of the ball. The Pistons took care of the ball. Just 6 turnovers tonight and all around a clean game from the Detroit Pistons, which you absolutely love to see. And Cade, the focal point of this team. He's the stud tonight. My goodness. Salute to Cade Cunningham. You love to see it. I also want to stud Jalen Duren because I've been critical of him, and rightfully so, I would say, but 16 points tonight. He was plus 14, did a nice job defensively, 13 boards, and did a great job of being a presence, especially on a night you need it with, of course, Isaiah Stewart suspended by the NBA after his antics against the Pacers the other night. So that being said, Jalen Duren also a stud tonight. My dud is going to be Ron Holland, and I know he finished with 4 points plus 3, but it was the missed dunk. You just can't have that. And he's starting to become enough of a liability on the offensive end where teams are sagging off him and just letting him stand in the corner. He's got to develop a corner three. He's just 2 of 8 from the floor. Teams just dare him to shoot. Nothing for 0 for 1 from beyond the arc. So dud tonight. And I know he makes plays defensively and he provides that energy, that spark off the bench, but you're in the big leagues now, man. This is the National Basketball Association. There's no time for dinking around with reverse dunks if you're not going to make it. Throw the ball down, get 2 points for your team when you're in all alone. And I might sound like old man yelling at clouds, get off my lawn, guy. I don't care. You can't miss a uncontested dunk in all alone because you're trying to show off and be a hot dog and reverse it like that. So that's the old man in me, and that's why Ron Holland gets the dud tonight. And he's playing against his hometown team. He's a Dallas guy, Duncanville, Texas, suburb of Dallas. So you gotta be better, Ron Holland. That being said, love the effort from the boys tonight. Awesome win, 117-102. The final. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Couple more comments we'll get to right now. And it's Mr. My City says Tobias's inconsistency has hurt us more than Threesley's and Hardaway Jr.'s. He has to keep making shots. It helps so much. Yeah. And again, on a night where he was really, really good, I want to give him his flowers and give him his credit because he certainly deserves that. And to your point, though, it just shows what he can bring to this team when he is playing up to his capabilities. So, yes, we're going to demand a very, very high level of a high expectation for Tobias Harris because we know he can do it. That's for sure. And last comment here. It's almost March. Going to be seeing that Pistons brand of basketball. Let's hope. And Mark Followill said that on the Mavs telecast tonight that these are not the same old Pistons and they are positioning themselves for sure for a play-in and maybe even a seed in the Eastern Conference without that play-in. So let's continue to keep the foot on the gas if you're the Detroit Pistons. Continue playing up to the potential of this team because, man, nights like tonight are fun. There's no doubt about it. And it's so much more fun to get on a live Locked On Pistons postcast and talk about everything you love seeing and talk about Cade and talk about this team as a whole when they're playing up to their potential, when they're winning meaningful games, playing meaningful basketball, bringing the crowd to life and getting back to the 500 mark at home. Now let's see if we can stock some victories at home and get that home record over 500 and continue to climb up those Eastern Conference standings. I feel really good after tonight. There is no doubt about that. And I think with Cade, I mean, my goodness, the sky's the limit for him based on how he played tonight. So appreciate everyone tuning in. And what a night. Checked a lot of boxes. You got Commissioner Adam Silver in attendance. You show out for him. Cade Cunningham, first game after being named an All-Star, drops a 40-burger against the Dallas Mavericks. You beat up on a team from the Western Conference who is the team that went to the NBA Finals last year. And I know that they were, again, decimated with injuries and continue to be beat up with no Luka, no Lively, among others. But you still got to go out and play for 48 minutes. I know 40 minutes if Adam Silver had his choice, but still 48-minute game. And the Pistons did that tonight. And they withstood the punches thrown, figuratively speaking. I guess I got to be more specific when it comes to the Pistons because sometimes there are punches thrown. But figuratively speaking, when the Mavs got it all the way down to 2 after being up by 15, it didn't phase the Pistons. They get back in cruise control and win this one by 15. So you feel really good. And hey, Jason Kidd, he even said it, Mike, talking about how elite Cade Cunningham is. I think the rest of the league is on notice with this Pistons team. No doubt about it. So Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you sign up for free at the lockedondaily.com for your favorite podcast in newsletter form. That's the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage. And it's delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Pistons beat the Mavs. What a way to start the homestand. 117-102, the final in this one. Pistons back to 500 at 24-24. And we will see you on Sunday after the Pistons take on the Bulls. Make sure you subscribe. Go ahead and like the video as well. Share it with a friend. My name is Jake Rima. Thanks as always for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, afternoon, whatever day it is. And we'll talk to you on Sunday after the Pistons take on the Bulls on Locked On Sports Detroit. Goodbye.